everybody, 3 Drinks Down. I'm Nate.
I'm James.
And today we have part 3 of our Buffalo Trace batched versus barrel select for you.
For you. On today's episode of Buffalo Trace Batch versus Store Pick, we have Weller Antique, also known as Weller 107. We're no strangers to this one. We're big fans, and a lot of people are. You know, when you can find it, it's almost always buy, especially at retail.
$50?
How can you beat it? How can you beat it? Again, same thing with all the previous Weller ones we've said so far. Not a lot of information is known. We're really not going to recap that here, but you know what you can do.
You can find out information like that if you were to like this video. If you do, please.
Yeah. And comment down below. And of course, subscribe. Appreciate that.
Thank you. All right, so now that the niceties are out of the way, we have to remind you, hey, this is doing really well for the batch product so far. If you recall, first 2 videos, batch won both.
2-0.
So
what?
This 107, you know, it's like it's best of 7 series. It's got to come home and defend home ice or home turf, right?
Pressure is on.
It really is. It honestly is. But with that said, I think we're just both so excited to jump into this. We're going to go the batch product first. And you know how this works. We have to absolutely swirl before we go to the nosening.
Look at this. We're pros. Just getting it.
Just around the world too. Don't forget. We did that once, twice. But at any rate, let's stop wasting time.
You know, it's just, it's all the good parts of Weller Special Reserve just amped up. And there's some new things there, some new tricks. Learn some new tricks with the higher proof, right? There's a little bit of grape, and I'm not grape like grape, but like grape soda, right?
Not huge, but it's there.
A little bit. Definitely sweetness.
Beautiful sweetness.
Honey, caramel. I think those two are applicable here.
This is just, I think, what I want. If I could have an endless supply of one bourbon when you answer those dumb questions, this one might be the one.
Yeah, 107 is just...
might be the one.
It's just great, man. It's just great. A little bit of cinnamon spice on the nose, too. So
I can't add anything to that. So I'm not going to, because it doesn't make sense.
To the tasting we go.
Absolutely. The taste follows through with a lot of the same, which is not to be dramatic or melodramatic or whatever that appropriate term here is. Beautiful oak. A little bit of spice, which is cinnamon to me.
Oh, yeah.
Comes across with just that finish, which has, oddly, the grape plus a touch of vanilla.
Yep.
Nice finish all the way to the throat. Not a huge hug, which I like. I don't mind that.
I think it's a perfect hug. It's just like, it's there, but it's like not super aggressive.
It's just a good experience overall. Do I think it's the most oily thing in the world? Not quite, but I don't expect it to be either.
No, but the mouthfeel is nice.
Right.
I mean, certainly no slouch.
I think we were talking about before, because we enjoy this so much, and of course we've had this one before because it is our batch product. This one, if you're thinking batch products and you've had a lot of them, probably tends towards like what we would say maybe just kind of the lighter side of their batches. In other words, it's not going to be like huge expression because some of their batches are a little more expressed.
Sure.
But this one is still a very classic 107.
The one thing that I'm really finding to be true with all of these batches is that it's round, it's soft, it's pleasant, and it's on profile.
Even if there's a tolerance difference, it's not big.
No, not at all. So, want to just get into the store pick?
Absolutely.
All right, so this store pick is from Spanx. Just kidding, it's Specs. Made that joke earlier.
Yeah, I asked if he was wearing his Spanx, and he's like, no, I'm not.
I might.
I need
get
to.
some.
Look at
you
this. I think they make them for men.
Yeah, of course.
They're called Manx.
Good one.
No, I'm actually not joking this time.
I have no idea.
Watch people go Google that and be like, not what we thought it was. Please don't Google that.
Yeah,
I have no idea
put
where
you
you're
on
going
a
to
weird Google hunt here. But hey, remember,
always swirl.
You guys, you're doing it at home. I know you are. So appreciate you.
We'll never get to see you, but we know you are. I'm going to the nosing. Just right in.
Let's do it. Oh, wow. What? Okay. So
you said okay, like oaky.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. This is super oak forward. I expect this to have a lot of tannins on the back end, which is not on profile for any 107 I've ever had at all. In fact, you get minimal oak out of 107 typically. It's usually the last thing you taste.
This is oak dominant on the nose.
Dominant.
There's others, and you still get some of the grape, very like some mustiness grape underneath there.
Yeah, but it's not that grape soda grape.
No, it's a mustier.
Like grape must.
Yeah, it must.
It must be. We're on a roll today, guys. Just kidding.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like what you perceive a slight bit of vanilla sweetness in the base, which isn't a lot. It's there.
It's not a ton of sweetness. It's so dominated by that oak comparatively from the batch product.
This is going to be interesting. Like this.
This is wild. Let's just get into the tasting.
Yeah, I'm going to need to get into the taste here.
Taste, store pick. Wow.
A lot of oak.
That's oaky. Wow, that's really oaky.
Ooh. You know what strikes me on this? I need a second sip because I don't want to speak too much. The oak is like a dry oak wine, dry wine.
A white wine.
I could go with that because there's that grapiness, great mustiness to it still in the taste.
Well, it's not bold and spicy like
like
a cab or
white for sure.
It's a white wine.
Yeah.
And then there's that just enough of that sweetness, I think, as
this
well.
One really, I'm gonna take a second sip, but this one really actually activates more of the taste stuff on your tongue too. It's like that technical stuff, taste stuff on your tongue.
Taste stuff on your tongue. Guys, did you know you taste stuff with your tongue? I didn't. Honestly, I get a lot of this is in the back end for me. It's super like back palate dominant, which is super weird.
Yeah, it doesn't have that huge, there's a sweetness on the front of the tongue, but what it is, it's a lingering sweetness. Whereas like with the batch, you got this whole sweetness to start and then it washed over you.
Why does this smell like it has French oak staves in it? Like, so nuts.
If I could sit in front of the distiller, could I get information about where this was in the rick house?
Yeah. So, you might think that this could be an upper tier barrel based on the amount of tannins and oak that are here, because you would think that it's ebbing and flowing into the wood
and
faster.
Harsher, higher temperatures, higher in the warehouse.
Right. So it's doing more of that ebb and flow because the liquid, as some of you might know and some of you might not, liquid when it gets hotter expands. Liquid when it gets colder condenses. Right. So when it expands, it will travel through smaller pores, wood, easier.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense.
Which gets deeper into that oak that hasn't been saturated already for the years of aging, pulls more of that tannin back. So
right.
Interesting to say. I mean, we won't know this, but my suspicion, my theory,
I think it's a good guess,
is that this potentially was higher in the rick house.
I think it's a really good guess. And maybe these barrels, they just know sometimes that these are going to be earmarked as not really going to be good enough for a Weller batch product.
On third sip,
but who knows?
It's definitely still got that really big tannic note.
It's just so different for me than any Weller I've had. Include the entire line, basically, for me. Mm-hmm. I've never had anything this tannic before. We've
had nearly the opposite, where it's just so sweet
and soft. Yeah,
right.
100%.
I haven't gone this way with a pick like this.
Yeah, interesting. It's like a whole different bourbon.
And someone, if I get this wrong, as best I can understand, Specs, I believe, is in Texas. Now, they may be in other states. It may be a larger chain. The ones I'm aware of are in Texas. So I also wonder if we have some regional tasting bias here potentially as well.
Could be.
That's real, right? I'll be honest, I know here in the Bay Area, in Tampa Bay, not the Bay, that's San Francisco, right? But in the Tampa Bay area, we definitely love our sweet.
Yeah, not even just bourbon. Beer, iced
drinks,
tea,
everything.
You got it. You name it.
So odds are, unless you have somebody that's a really red herring, most of the picks you're going to get from Tampa area probably going to be sweeter.
Yeah, for sure. Obviously, that depends on the picker.
So I generally think of Texas whiskey, and if someone had a Texas palate, as usually being a little more bold experience. Sure. All the Garrisons I've had have been big whiskey flavored whiskey.
Yeah, and that might be for different reasons, and we're not going to get into that.
We're getting way off course. The point being is this is very unique.
Agreed.
Unique, good or bad, that's what we're going to figure out.
Yeah, first we're going to, how this works. We're going to A-B this, go back and forth, and then we will determine a winner, so to speak. So
we're all winners here.
In my left hand and in Nate's right hand, we have batched. And in my right hand and Nate's left hand, we have the single barrel. Let's start with the batched. Oh yeah, caramel corn, baby.
Whoa. Okay, you just said that and that just popped.
It pops, dude.
Not the corn. That's not a pun. That was an unintentional pun.
Wow.
Yeah.
Look at you. You don't even have to try anymore.
It's just Hub. Oh, that's a whole different thing. I need to start Pun Hub.
Whoa. Yes.
Okay.
How many of you would go to www. It might already be taken, Nate.
It probably is.
Yeah, it's already taken.
I'll get punhub dot what's the charitable one?
.org is
Yeah, it could be .org. Anyway, .gov. I'll get
.gov. It'll be a government.
Okay, let's get back to the AB. I've gotten us so far off track here. I'm sorry, but that was just worth going down that hill.
Okay.
All right, so we're back here, and yeah, so
Caramel corn.
caramel corn.
I'm going back to this. It's
Yeah.
caramel freaking corn.
Beautiful. Enjoyable.
Delicious. Smells amazing.
B.
B. Okay. The oak has calmed a little comparatively from before. It's still oak dominant. Don't get me wrong. I'm telling you, man. I think when you put these side by side on the nose, they start to come a little bit closer. And we've seen that every time we've A/B'd them on the nose.
Trends.
It's really interesting.
If there were spaghetti models, it would definitely be starting to agree.
That's
You know,
true.
That's true. It's
In
near
Florida,
all our hearts.
We know a lot about hurricanes, but again, we're not going to get into that. So the tasting AB, starting with the batched. Here we go. Didn't really change for me. Sweet, soft, very nice, delicious. Even without the other one in my hand, smelling this, it smells like the oak has calmed down a little bit, which is very interesting.
I need you to take a sip of that. I just need you to do that right now. When you bring them closer together, tasting experience, I see the direction here now on the pick.
Yeah,
And the direction was to amp up the oak
yeah.
and allow the other sweetness to speak for itself. But I guess we have to get into this at some points. James, do you have an idea where you're going with this?
I do.
Would you like to share with the people?
It's going to be interesting. This one, I will say, this pick was the most unique, the most off-profile so far. From what we had, they got closer as the AB, which we've seen happen time and time again. I'm still gonna go with the batch product. I don't know. Are we gonna have a clean sweep of batch product here? I don't know, guys. I don't know. I'm surprised, but I just love that big sweetness. There's just too much oak. As much as I liked it, like how unique it was, it's just, I don't know, not my jam. Buffalo Trace knows what they're doing, I think. Nate, what do you think?
Let me start off my address by saying, first off, that someday I'd like to do barrel picks at Buffalo Trace.
Yes.
And by no means do I believe that any of these pickers have picked a bad product at all.
No.
And I think Buffalo Trace's batch products so far are surprisingly holding their own really, really, really well.
They're real good, guys.
Do. And so it's made this very tough. Whereas I think we've had the first two experiences have been a little more, we knew the direction. On this one, I start to kind of feel like the single barrel was holding its own as we experienced it more, right? Didn't change. It is what it was, like we saw on the Buffalo Trace. Mm-hmm. Yeah? Mm-hmm. However, in this round of barrel versus batch wins.
Man, so for those of you keeping track at home, that's another point for batch. This is nuts. Please comment down below.
Please do.
Do you think we're gonna literally just clean sweep this with batch or not? Like, I don't know, man. Are you a betting kind of person?
I'd be really remiss if we didn't go into one thing though, real quick.
Yes.
Before we wrap up here. I do know that in all three of these instances, I've tried single barrels that are superior to the batches.
Oh, same, which is why this is hilarious to me.
Again, everyone's here is like, oh, you're shilling for BT or whatever. Like, no. We're just pointing out that I think we fall in love with the idea of the single barrel. And it's a wonderful product.
Well, also, how many people are also comparing these side by side all the time, right?
Right.
And to that avail, it's like, you just have a good product. It's like you try these on their own. You're like, of course this is good. Like, because it's just good.
Right.
So I think there's some bias there too.
At the end of the day, I said I'd pick the batch in this case. James said he'd pick the batch in this case. And this has been a Buffalo Trace batch versus barrel pick for you.
Son of a batch.
107 and rising.